Everyone, this is Professor Robert Solis. Welcome to this next video lesson. What I'm going to do is talk about structures. And the basic idea of a structure is that it is a container of multiple data types if you want. For example, I'm going to have a user store a string for the first and last name, a bunch of integers for the month, day, and year for their birth date, and then a double here for the GPA. And we're going to collect all of those into what's called a structure. That's different than an array, which can contain as much data as you want, I suppose, depending on how big the array is, but of only one data type. So you can have an array of integers, you can have an array of doubles, you can have an array of strings, but you can't have a mix and match. A structure allows you to do that, to mix and match different data types into one item. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I have this graphical user interface, and as you can see here, I've already created the various names like txt first name, txt last name, so forth and so on. I have these labels over here, LBL first name, LBL last name, in accordance with the handout. So what we want to do is double click this button so that we're going into the code area. I'm going to get rid of the toolbox and the properties. And what I want you to do is to press enter a couple of times after where it says public class form 1. And we're going to start off by typing the word structure. Now what I want to do is I want to create a structure called student. Press enter. So remember, a structure is a bunch of different items. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create first name as a string, last name as a string, birth month as an integer, birth day also as an integer, birth year as an integer, and then finally GPA as a double. So as you can see, what a structure does is it's a collection of various data types. It doesn't have to be. This could have been all integers, this could have been all doubles, what have you, but the beauty of the structure is it allows you to combine several different data types. Now, for today's lecture, we are just going to create one student. What I'm going to, actually, maybe I can create a couple of students for you. But what I'm going to show you next lecture is how to create an array of structures so that you can have as many as you want, depending on the size of the array. Notice again all the different data types. The name of this structure is student. Okay, so now over here, where it says btn submit click, we're going to have our declarations section, the get user input section, and then we're going to generate an output. There's really not a calculation that we're going to be performing in this particular program. Okay, so let me create a student. Now, don't type this. Let me just type it so that I can explain to you. Normally what you do, if you wanted to declare an integer, you would type something like this. You would say dim my number as integer, right? So what is my number? It's an integer. Okay, so let me get rid of this. And I do want you to type this. Dim Robert as student. Okay. So what is Robert? Robert is a student. Remember before I had my num and I had integer over here? What is my num? My num is an integer. Well, Robert is a student. Well, what is a student? A student is a collection of items. Namely, Robert has a first name. Robert has a last name. Robert has a birth month, day, year, and a GPA. So Robert is all of these things. This is the manifestation of this particular structure. It serves as a template. Okay? So I can also create another student, Kristen. And I can create as many students as I want, as long as I give them some sort of a unique name. Maybe we want to do something like math student as student. Maybe we want to say student 0099, say for example. That could be a student, so forth and so on. Okay, well, let's just simply focus on Robert for right now. I want to get the user information by grabbing these text box items and placing them into the members for Robert. So what I'll do is this, Robert dot, and then notice now that I have a collection of all of the members. Well, I want to work with Robert's first name. That's this guy right here. So I'll double click it, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say whatever is inside of the text box, first name, get that text and place it into the first name member of Robert. So this right here, the dot operator, reveals the members that belong to Robert. Let's do it again, Robert dot. Now here's a list of all the members, and I want last name right here. It's a string. Yep, that's what I want to do. I want to grab the contents of the last name text box and place that into the member last name that belongs to Robert. We're going to do the same thing for Robert's birth month. Now here's what I got to be careful about, because birth month is an integer, as you can see over here. So what I got to do first, I've got to convert to int 32. I'll just open and close the parens and put my cursor right back in there. And so what I'm going to need to do is to get from the text box, and let's go to month.text. We'll do the same for Robert.birthday. We'll convert to int 32 because that's an integer, as you can see over here. And we'll say txt day.text. Robert.birthyear. Once again, we're going to convert to an integer whatever is inside of txt birth year dot text. And then finally we want to grab Robert's GPA, so we'll say Robert dot GPA, and I'm going to convert to double this time because that's what GPA is. As you can see over here, it's a double, whatever the content is of txt GPA. So that's how a structure works. I could create and place items for Kristen, for a math student, for student 0099. All of these are students. Right now we're just focusing on this one student right here, Robert. So here are all the items for Robert. I simply access the members, and I'm going to grab those items from the text boxes. Some of them need to be converted because they're not strings, others they're strings, so I can put them directly into here. And so now I have information from the user inside of the structure. But what I want to do now is I want to take the information from that structure and I want to place it into these labels. So what I'll do is over here in the output section, we'll say LBL first name dot text. Okay, so that's this guy over here. That's this label. Now what I want to do is I want to place the information for Robert, specifically Robert's first name. So what we'll do is we'll say Robert dot, again here's the member list. I'm interested in the first name, so that's this guy right here. Since this is a string, as you can see here, right over here it says string, we're putting a string into a string, but that's what a text is, so no conversion is necessary. Next, LBL last name dot text. So again, we're going to take Robert's last name, here it is, which is a string. We're going to place that into the text property, which is in essence a string. And so now we want to place into LBL month for the text property. Now I am going to be placing a number into this text property, which means I'll have to convert it to a string. Open and close parentheses, put my cursor right back in there. And specifically what I need is Robert's birth month, and here it is, very top. We're going to take that, convert it into a string, put that into the text property of the month label. And then LBL day.text. Once again, I'm going to convert to string, Robert's birthday. LBL year, we're going to convert dot to string, Robert's birth year. And then finally, we're going to place into LBL GPA text. We'll still have to convert, but this time we're going to convert, actually, same thing, to convert to string. And then Robert's GPA. Now, it could be that Robert's GPA is a long number, like 3.9999, say for example. Maybe you might want to limit that. So an alternative version would be to say something like LBL GPA dot text. And what we'll do is we'll take Robert's GPA, but we're going to convert this into a string with a fixed format of one number after the decimal point. So the top and the bottom do the same thing. The bottom one determines how many numbers after the decimal point you want, whereas the top one does not. They both do the same thing of converting to a string. All right, let me save my work and run the program. And I'll move this over here, and let me scroll down so you can see the code over here. Okay, so let me type in some information for Robert. And we'll say 2000. And GPA is 3.99999, say for example. Submit. All right, so as you can see here, it transfers the information, but it doesn't transfer it from the text box to the label. It assigns all of these items into a structure that we have created called Robert. Robert is the object, so to speak, of type student. So we place all of this information into a structure. Then we take the information from that structure and we put it right back into this label. And in terms of our last item over here, it took that 3.99999, and we're going to format that so it's only one number after the decimal point, and as you can see, it also rounded it up. And that's it. So if I make any changes, like say for example, we type in Jackson, okay, so that updates it over here. If I say Joshua, so forth and so on, right? It'll update whatever this is. And that's it. So this is Professor Robert Solis. I hope this video lesson was helpful. Hope you have a good day. See you next time.